Hi, this is Greg with Duff Makes It. Continuing with part 2 of the 58 Chevy Truck build. You can see a lot of bad parts here, bad sheet metal, a lot of rust that I had to fix. Floorboard I cut out there. Put some anti-rust on a lot of this stuff to, as you see, that white stuff there is kind of anti-rust acid. It etches the metal and stops the rust. You can see I initially cut out the floorboard and was going to try to fix the firewall, but the firewall ended up just being way too bad, and I went ahead and replaced the firewall also on this. You can see there, front suspension, started putting that on. Just more areas of rust. I had to cut it away, cut the firewall out. I think this is where I started cutting it out. I was going to just, like I said, just replace the floorboard and floorboard panels, but it ended up being far worse than I thought it was going to be. Working on some panels, that cab corners. All these trucks like this, cab corners are always bad. There's the A pillar there where the windshield is. I had to spot weld all this stuff up. There was a lot of pinholes in it. Smoothing it out, grinding it down after I welded it. There's probably too many pictures of that, but there was a lot of pinholes in it all the way around it, around the bottom there. That's where water will get into and settle, and just gradually the water will just bore a hole through it. All around the windshield gasket area was really bad. Inside the that little well there in front there, the cowl area, it was bad down in there. A lot of spot welding in all these areas. There's some more. You can see how pinhole that is. There's a rear suspension I've started to put on, a newer, later model version of it, or not a later model, but a newer version of it. It's for this truck, but it's new parts, a new design. And you can see how I put the axle on top of the leaf springs, getting the pinion angle on the rear diff there and the engine, just so the angle is correct. See how the axle's on top of the leaf springs? It lowered it down. When I did that, it lowered it down, and it made it have a good ride height. Installing the shocks, working on that. Removing the firewall. or the firewall. Removing that took a while to get that out. Had to do it in pieces because it was really all bent up. It was just bent all to pieces, and I couldn't fix it. There it is out. More parts and pieces of it, more rust, cutting rust out and replacing it with new metal. And when you do this, you only want to cut out the necessary rust. You don't want to cut out too much. You know, your panels are usually larger than the rust areas, and you don't want to cut the entire panel size out. You want to just cut where the rust is. You don't want to cut no more than you have to. So there's the panel I put back in there. And it's an okay job. It ain't great, but it works, and it's solid. It's strong. I had to do work on the inner side of that also. That metal there was so thin. I probably could have cut a little bit more out, but I didn't want to cut too much. It didn't line up there. But some of those new panels, they're not real accurate. Some of them are, and some of them aren't. But I had to cut it in sections and then fill it in, and so it would all line up, so all the body lines and all would line up. I put these little aluminum plates over it just to give it a little bit of a Mad Max kind of look. It wasn't necessary. I didn't have to do that. I could have put just a little bit of Bondo and smoothed it out, but I kind of thought it looked cool, and so I did that. They can easily be drilled out and Bondoed in a little bit, and they'd be fine. But this was rusted out and at an angle like that, so I had to cut it that way. And there's where I got it back together. More of the firewall area. There's the new firewall clamped in place. Still has a lot of holes in it that I won't need. And later on I will weld all those holes up. You'll see that I don't need in there. Just taking my time with clamping it and making sure it's all correct and square and level and everything. It's inside the pocket, the hinge pocket area. Had to replace some of that metal inside there to fix it. Still probably needed to do some more stuff that I didn't do. More areas. I had to rebuild a lot of this. There you can see more rust holes. A lot of rust. There I have the firewall clamped in and started welding it up. And there's a little ledge there that I had to fix and replace. And that little drip edge there helps. It It helps keep water out. And then there's the firewall. I believe at this point it's welded in. I've just ground those holes, and I've got to weld those holes up. Well, that's it. I appreciate you joining me for another one of these videos. Join me again on part 3. There's 6 parts to this, and I appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe. Helps me out a lot if you hit the like button. I appreciate it. Have a good day.